my focus is really about just sharing the benefits of meditation with everybody and really helping people to add meditation into their lives.
And meditation, I've shared with you a little bit just in messages that it's something very much a part of my life. I really believe in. And I know you've said and made this connection too of it's so important for anyone listening that's an entrepreneur, a business owner. I would say it's as essential as your marketing.
Yep.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you got into it? Were you always just this very zen person? You come across as very zen,
Oh,
so I
thank
don't
you.
know if it's just what was first your journey into meditation, and then secondly, into having it be your business?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. And actually, something that I haven't shared, I think, with a lot of people is basically how I first started. And how I started was not a Zen person, was just a high achiever, someone that, I worked a lot, I worked too much, I didn't have really a good work life balance. And I just basically felt disconnected. And it was actually, I was watching about Steve Jobs, and he had passed away. And at his funeral, he gave everybody the autobiography of a yogi, and he talked about how that was something that he started reading since, I think, age 17, and he read it every single year throughout his journey, and it was something that he believed really opened his mind up to his intuition and really allowed him to come up with the amazing ideas that he was able to come up with, being the founder of Apple. So I went out right away, I bought the book, I kind of cracked it open the first couple pages, and for anyone that's read this book, it's quite complicated and it's quite in depth, and I had to kind of pull back and stop. And without really understanding anything of this book, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go into yoga teacher training, and that's what I'm going to do. Of course, this book talks more about the meditation piece, but I didn't actually know that at the time. I just saw yogi and, oh, yeah, yoga, let's do yoga. So I went into yoga teacher training. Noticed right away, it wasn't really for me. Like, I do enjoy yoga, and it really had me lean more into meditation and to say, something's going on here. I need to kind of explore it more. So then I said, let's start meditating. Let's do it. And I really struggled adding meditation into my life, honestly, because I was overwhelmed, I was stressed, and it took a lot for me to really add meditation into my life, which is something that I feel so inspired to help other people to make their journey so much easier. And I noticed huge benefits, as far as my stress levels, as far as anxiety that I used to have, all of that basically disappeared. And I was able to open up parts of myself that I didn't even know existed. Like, you have a puzzle and there's always one puzzle piece missing. That's what, meditation felt like, putting that piece back in and being like, okay, I'm good. I can keep going.
One, I didn't know the thing about Steve Jobs, so that's really interesting, and it's not a coincidence at all that a lot of high achieving people have the meditative practice. In fact, I would say, like, 1 in every 2 people I talk to who's at that level is meditating or doing something along the lines of calming their mind. Can I wanna just make sure we timeline this. So I actually don't remember when Steve Jobs died, so what year was that, that you heard about this book and you're like, "Oh, I wanna do yoga certification?"
Yeah, so I actually just looked this up because I wasn't sure it is. So it was 2011 when he passed away.
And then meditation was 2014, 2015.
Yeah, yeah.
Just trying to get a sense because so whenever, like, I speak to people on here, it's really interesting to kinda see how they evolve into their business journey and how they fall into it, and I know when you're in it, you kind of forget about time, it just kind of flows, but it's interesting to see, like, because a lot of people also listen and they think, "Oh, I don't know exactly what I wanna do," and there's this myth that you get it in 6 months, and so I think it's interesting your journey, how you started in this yoga interest, moved into meditation for yourself, saw these benefits, and then you were just about to talk about how you then decided to help others with it.
Yeah, and I think that's great to kind of point out, is something like this just naturally evolved, and it didn't happen overnight, and it happened through trying one avenue, seeing if that was for me, and kind of having it pivot into different types of things, right? And it probably took me 5 or 6 years, to be honest, to read the book finally and actually be comfortable going through the book. And then I went through my training journey, went through that. We had the pandemic, everything like that happened. I had my daughter, and that also kind of lit kind of a fire under me to help teach with, meditation, just seeing the general kind of world atmosphere of just stress and anxiety and just wanting to do something to help with that. And what I did was I started teaching in-person classes. So I was doing a lot of group classes, connecting with people in the communities and going through that. As far as my home life, it just made it challenging having a small daughter, trying to find babysitting. I was really interested in pursuing the online part, putting together courses. I really enjoy putting together courses.
It has a lot of the factors that many people experience where you want to have this home life balance. It's very hard commuting. Also, when you're in a wellness area like you are, a lot of times we have multiple different clients. So there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of schedule coordination. I imagine that's not easy when you were first, like taking care of a little human being. It's quite hard. And then we go into this transition of, okay, how do I take this in person to online because I want to reach more people and I also want to have balance and freedom. And I think I did that switch too. I know what it's like. It has pros and cons for sure, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons. Where are most of your clients or your leads coming from that are online?
Online, I've had a lot of success with Instagram. Yeah, as far as bringing in kind of new people, I get a lot of word of mouth though from existing clients, and that seems to be kind of what's currently generating most of my clientele is just the word of mouth of people that have attended my meditations, they're recommending it to friends or family.
It's referral is honestly it's, like, so good. Whether it originates from online, whether it originates from Instagram, whether it originates from podcasts, it's just the best thing. When you're doing the social stuff, and because I think this is a really curious thing for a lot of people, how are you approaching it? Is it kinda like you've got a strategy when you're going in with it, or is it that you're keeping up the awareness and people just kind of are messaging you to get in contact? Like, how is that connection mostly being made, do you think?
Yeah, so through social media, I try to take some time every day just to kind of connect with people, build relationships, interact with other people that, have similar interests and that with me.
Are you doing this full time? Like, is your meditation products, coaching services your full time job now? Or is it also like in addition to another role that you're doing?
Yeah, so right now it's in addition to a full-time job that I'm doing. So it's not ideal, but what I find is successful for me now is doing a lot of these time blocks. So every morning, do a time block before, I wake up early before everyone else is awake and get some work done. And something that I have been really successful with is being able to be very quick in my work because of the limited time I have.
It forces you to be creative and not waste anything. I think it's like ultimate time management skills when you've got a full-time job, you've got children, and then also you're doing this, you're trying to grow your business. Let's do 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years from now. What would you want from the business?
Yeah, from the business is I'd love to connect with more people and be able to help, more people throughout this journey. I'm developing some more online courses to help people kind of hit different goals in their life. And what's great about meditation is, using it as a tool to switch our mindset. So there's a few different mindsets that we can really put ourselves in. So just developing some more of these meditations. I'm really interested in, starting a workshop where we work for, maybe 4 or 5 months on different really pulling it together for a lot of people. And I'd love to just continue on with this online path. I like to do maybe about 4 in-person, meditations per year, hitting, our main solstice equinox events.
Think this is interesting too, because you were saying like it's nice to have the online, but the in-person touch points are really great too. So if you could do it, you would want to have like the 4 in-person events, people come and do this with you. then you'd wanna have some one-to-one sessions online still?
And I've really been enjoying doing these online courses. So just continuing on with the online course and just refining it as I go with people's feedback.
For the online courses, how many do you have? How many have you launched?
One certification course that I have, and then I have probably 2 or 3 right now, and then 2 or 3 in the works that I'm wanting to kinda get out.
But the one that's top selling is the one to certify as meditation facilitators, or what's the certification they walk away with?
Introduce meditation into their life, have a consistent approach, and they also get a personalized session with me.
Why do you think that that one in particular is the most popular? Like, why is that the one that people tend to either give you most feedback about or ask about or buy more?
I think that's because I've been refining it the most over the years. So that was one I took like the individual kind of modules within that course I taught in my group sessions when I first started, and I just got a ton of different feedback and I adjusted it.
This whole time you've been using feedback to drive what you create and refine it. And I really think that that's the secret is like, how do you know what people want? You have to ask them and keep refining like that. What kind of people do you find are your audience that is buying? Like, who are they? Is it who you thought? Is there anything that surprised you about that?
Yeah, the people that are buying, I find are people, similar maybe to myself, people when I first started, people that, are feeling disconnected from themselves, they're feeling stressed. I'm also seeing a lot of people that are going through, a lot of changes in their life, some major changes. So whether it's divorce, kind of a new path, oftentimes those people will come to meditation looking to kind of connect on a deeper level. I'm getting a decent, male following as well too. Traditionally wasn't my target group, but I'm still getting people that are interested in working with me.
That's really good to know, right? Because if you're ever getting into ads or anything like that, to know that it's not just women, but it's also men that are very interested in what you're creating and they feel like included in the language you use, which is great. Because I'm all for segmenting. I specifically only work with women, but I think a lot of things like this can be for anyone and it's really helpful. How do you, because the meditation space is much bigger now than it would have been when you first started. People are more aware of it. How do you try to differentiate yourself from other people who are doing the same thing?
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part about my journey is there's so many people that are doing the same thing. Just be realistic about your meditations. I mean, you get a lot of people, you need to meditate all day, every day, and that's just not realistic for many people. And what I like to do is pull in the research and the science that's really coming in, which is really, really exciting. And it's showing things like short meditation sessions every day, 5-10 minutes of meditation every day really has huge benefits to people. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I don't think a lot of people teach that. And by using a Sanskrit mantra or a word that you can repeat during your meditation, you use it for that vibration. And that vibration actually can help you just go deeper into your meditations.
This is where it's kinda interesting because you mentioned that you are different with the method a little bit. So you've got the Sanskrit, and then you also have the vibration, which I also like, also unique. I haven't seen that everywhere. And then also with the shorter option of meditation, which I think too is another thing. I see people all the time talking about their 3-hour morning meditations, just like who has the time? You're differentiating in the way that you're doing it, and then also how? Because even like for my first podcast, I made them 20 to 22 minutes long, which was very different at the time. Everyone was doing 90-minute episodes. But I know that that's why it changed. It's like, just like you've noticed that this is doable if people could make it shorter like this and they're more likely to listen. So I know that you mentioned like the differentiation part can be harder for your space. Is there anything else with the business that you find difficult or frustrating or anything like that?
When I first started, it was just building up people around me that, understood the journey and knew the journey. But what I found challenging is the technology aspect. And I was really slow at everything technology wise, like even getting my very first, Instagram post up. Like many people, I'm sure do it so easily. And I struggled with that. I struggled, even getting my Zoom account set up, like everything. I just had to spend extra time getting things set up. And thankfully for me, I surround myself by people that are smarter than me in that aspect.
Here to say that the tech stuff never ends. You will always have something. It just gets more complicated. So you gotta just get comfortable with it or surround yourself, like you said, because it doesn't go away. The problems just get trickier. But you learn, you get it, you get more. I'm sure you too feel like, wow, what I can do now is so much more than when I first started. Is there any skill that you'd really want that you think would really help your business? Like a skill that if you could just master this, or if you could get to the next level in that, or you could understand this, you feel like would allow you to focus on it more?
Yeah, I've had a lot of success with organic marketing. I haven't had as much success with like anything like just advertising or the marketing side. So I that's something that, I have been studying is tips for marketing and that. I just haven't had a ton of success with kind of transitioning to that market. Buying products from me. Those are people that have been following me, have taken previous courses before, and those are the people, or, their friends or somebody recommends them. Those are the people that I'm, having success with. So it's just, you know, broadening my reach to extend beyond that, right?
This is honestly, I think it's the biggest struggle because I feel like with social media, it gives you a lot of wins in that you get a very warm audience. They get to know you, they really like you, simple that way. The more marketing, the cold stuff, it is harder because that person has no context for you or what you've done or who you are, or anything. And they're just making that split decision. So it's definitely like that skill. I totally get it. That is definitely a hard thing because it's not that you have to shift away from what you're doing because it's working for you, but how do you add on so you can scale? So you can, I imagine you probably want to do this full time if you could. It's interesting because when I was starting to do this, the biggest thing people kept telling me, like I would go to these coaches and I'd be like, I don't understand. It's not working. What's wrong? They would always point to my messaging because I always thought, oh, it's a tech thing. I don't understand, or my graphics aren't right, or something like that. In just a sentence or two, what are the people that you're talking to when you're doing the marketing stuff? Like, who do you envision them being? Are there any so transitions? I know you said like going through a divorce, maybe someone's had a death. Like, let's say if you were doing Facebook ads for them, or you were talking to even an agency, words that people can use to find them that would be keywords or that would be differentiators. Have you thought about what those might be? Or maybe you see patterns in who you already have had work with you?
Yeah, I guess, people that are into health and wellness, or into mindfulness, maybe some people into yoga, looking to kind of broaden that. And, I get some people that have, they're going on the sober journey. So, yeah, I think just looking at those kind of interests of people of what gets them towards the meditation journey for sure.
It's so interesting because you could almost do different posts or different content pieces for each of these, or even like different podcast episodes for each of these, where you've got like the meditation for the one going through the sober journey, the meditation for the person going through the divorce, the meditation going through the loss of someone very close to them. I feel like for you, segmenting is probably where it would be really interesting because you can hear all day, like, oh, I should meditate. But and you do this really well in your social post. You feel like you'll pick a specific thing, like this specifically is what is going to help you, or this one works with that. Then it goes from, oh, yeah, this would be a nice habit to, oh, like she's speaking to me.
Hitting on people that are dealing with high amounts of stress or anxiety, which, is something that led me to meditation as well, too.
While your offer could be the certification could be for everyone, the whole pathway to get there could be completely different, right? Like it could be some people come in for your stress and anxiety meditation series. Each of those could almost have its own funnel that it starts with and it goes to at the end thing is the certification one. And I bet that would end up growing the marketing for you because then they don't need to know you specifically in the beginning. They just need to know that you understand them, which you do. Like what you've said to me, like you know these people's journey. You know what they're craving in life and what they're searching for, and maybe they just never thought of meditation as the answer.
Yeah, I love that. It actually makes so much sense and I think that's blindly what I'm trying to do, but now I can go in more purposefully, kind of understanding this that I'm designing these courses for different people along different journeys, and that really can help segment it in my mind that someone can start with a lower priced option to try it out, see how they like my teaching, my methods, and then if they're looking to deepen that meditation journey is going into that course. So I think you've nailed it.
'Cause I just see so much possibility, and I realize it can be overwhelming because there's, like, well, really, there's unlimited amount of segmentation you could do here, but if you just start with 1 to 3, like, what would be the one segment that you would feel most passionate about doing first? The one you're like, "I know their journey, I'm gonna start with these people first."
Like, there's for doing a chakra healing session,
Okay.
I find is so powerful for so many people that are really in that kind of fight or flight, and really doing like a chakra cleansing series would really help people kind of out of that kind of stressful period.
You already have this content and probably you've produced it in different ways. It's just packaging it for this specific goal or transformation. And I was actually asking like what kind of people, but you gave a even more interesting answers like what kind of offer. Is there a specific kind of person though? Chakra healing for people who are, I don't know, just getting into their spirituality, chakra healing for someone who is going through the divorce, chakra healing for someone who's a new parent.
It's hard for me to kind of narrow that down, but maybe I should narrow it down a little bit more, and that's something maybe I'll have to think about.
For this specifically, the transition thing, because you could even do like chakra healing for transitions, and then you could list the 4 or 5 kinds of transitions people are going through that it would be helpful like, in the copy of it, whether you're going through the divorce or you're going through death or grief or you're ending a relationship. This is for you. I feel like you could also do that because you're right, the transition is already segmented and there are many people who fall within that, and I agree with you that almost everyone, when they come to meditation, it's because they're trying to transition into something or from something. Everyone listening, it might be available soon, or your low ticket one.
Mhm.
It's always, like, trying to figure out who's the person. I had one person ask me I have my other podcast is Feel Good Naked for Women. A friend was sharing it with she'll probably laugh because she's gonna hear this episode, but she was sharing it with a guy, and he was like, "Oh, this is nice, it's talking about inner healing, I need to do this, but the podcast says it's for men, and so my or for women." And so my friend was asking me, like, "Well, why maybe you should take that away, the 4 women." And I was like, "Well, no, because I know when people see that, they can self-identify. Just like for you, when you say for people in transition, they can know, okay, this can be something that I can really benefit from, which is harder to do because you wanna help everyone, but you gotta, like, think about what is the positioning, right?
Yeah. No, I love that.
Do you for the certification one, do you feel like that is at the price point you would want it to be at the moment?
No. No.
Then I know we always underprice, so I figured that was a fair question.
Yeah, so it's underpriced, but again, what I'm trying to do is get the feedback, get some reviews, and then as I get reviews, feedback, I'm gonna scale the price up. It's like a ridiculously great offer for anyone that's listening. Grab it while you can.
Grab it while you can get it. Because shortly after this episode goes live, she's gonna 10x her prices. Be ready.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure people are getting good value out of it. And it's maybe something that maybe I've struggled with the inner work of making sure I'm pricing things at a value that people can see it. And then the feedback that I'm getting from people is been very, very good feedback. People are saying this one meditation you did, it just changed my life. It's healed me. And those are things that I'm thinking about saying, maybe I should start increasing my prices and going from there. I don't want to overprice myself and, lose people, but I should be pricing things a little bit higher as well with the value that, people are saying that they're getting from what I'm offering.
I mean, it's an important point because I even talked about this in a previous episode that all these people who are like, you have to sell it for 10 times as much. They forget that they started their own products cheaper to get the feedback, to also feel comfortable doing it. Because to jump to this is worth this 10 times much is also an inner journey to get to that point of I know that this is worth this and I feel comfortable offering it at this. If you had all of the feedback you needed and you knew that it was where it needed to be at, how many times more would you charge for it?
5 times probably.
Is there anything you would add to it now that you feel like I would know it would be 5 times worth 5 times more? Like, is there anything additional you would add to it or anything you would change about it that would immediately make you feel like this can be this price now?
Maybe just re-recording a few of the sessions. Well, now that I have a better computer, we're moving up in the world. I don't know that I would change the content because I've been working on that content for so long and really tweaking it but maybe just getting a few of, upping with the kind of the new technology that I have now that would be maybe a bit easier for people to take in.
I love that. So the only thing really is that you wanna change the quality of the recordings, and that's a small I mean, I understand, like, filming and editing, it takes time, but theoretically, it's not as if you have to go back to the drawing board and do everything. This is something too that I feel like you're such a good example of someone who has so much expertise and so many years doing it, and then it's so easy to, like, go online and feel like you need to start lower first, but even though you have so much expertise, I guarantee you probably have more expertise than most mindfulness teachers out there. In fact, I'm sure of it. Like, I'm positive you have it more. Even just in the way that you talk about it, I can see that you do. It's almost like if you just did those recordings, you could probably offer it at that now. And one of the biggest things I ever heard, which changed everything for me, after you do the first rounds, which you've done, get the feedback, get the experience. Rather than lowering your prices to where you think people will buy, price them at what you think it's worth and then make it worth that. Think about if you think it should be 5 times more, how can you make it 5 times more valuable so that they buy at that level? You're still doing so much for everyone else. I mean, you have $27 products that I think that's a very fair price for someone who's not ready to pay the full amount. It's not as if you're neglecting anybody, and you give so much free advice too. Everyone listening should know, go to her Instagram. You know, so much free stuff from a lot of mindfulness teachers, but Christina will give it to you. Go listen. But yeah, honestly, like, I think that with everything you're doing, you got so much expertise, you clearly know how to create a course, you know how to get people in the door organically. It's just the pricing and the segmentation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit it. That's something that, I can focus on now moving forward and yeah, just work on that.
I want that chakra healing meditation series. I wanna know when that's up. I'm gonna get it, and I'm also gonna put it back on this episode when it's ready. I mean, if I could say this to anyone in wellness, because I know that other people feel this too, it's like you wanna help the world, but it's like you also have to pay the bills.
Yes.
Last question for you before I ask where people can connect and how they can find you is if you had to think 5 years from now where you would wanna be with this business, what would you want to be offering, focusing on? We did the one part, the in-person, but what else would you wanna see for the business? If there's no limits, nothing held back, what do you think for the 5 years from now?
Yeah, 2029. So just doing this full time and, doing these mastermind classes where I can really connect with a handful of people over, 4 to 6 months and doing kind of weekly sessions with them. Like you're saying, having these kind of intro courses up and running where I'm not really creating anything new, I'm just tweaking. And then having my certification course that's available as kind of the larger ticket along with a mastermind class that I would just really put forward and just helping people kind of bridge the gap of the meditation and the mindset change.
I love that. I can see all of that probably in less than 5 years. I think you might be looking more at like 2025, 2026. I can see it happening. One tiny follow-up question, because I'm just thinking about this. If you had this, these more niche offers for people for transitions, for example, and let's say you price it 27, you can price it whatever you want, but it would be so easy for you to just have like one of them for free as a lead magnet, wouldn't it? You just talk about it in a post, or if someone's messaging you telling you I'm struggling with this with my, I'm a new mom and I'm really struggling with that identity, and to be able to say here like this is one, go for it. Where can everybody connect with you? Where can they find your amazing resources and all the generous knowledge you're sharing?
The best place is through my Instagram at go.meditate. And I share a ton of resources as well on my website at gomeditate.me.
Love it. We're going to include links to everything. Encourage you to follow Christina, especially now because she's going to be up and coming next year and you don't want to miss out on this.